What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Savvy and welcome back to the Savvy Show. And today we got a highly anticipated SCP, at least for me. I think this is going to be a winner, and I'll tell you guys right after I tell you the SCP. This is SCP-610, the Flesh That Hates. The reason I think this is going to be good because there's two parts to this, and this is from TheRubber. Also, this part, the first part, is featuring another channel, SCP Animated. Tales of the Foundation. They're pretty good. I usually like all their videos when I actually react to them, so with them collabing, I hope it's a good one. I hope the story is going to be pretty good, and after the first part I'll definitely be diving deep in part 2 if it's juicy enough. So yo, let's hope this is a winner, guys. So with that being said, if you guys are enjoying my reactions, and also if you guys like this SCP a lot, or if you're one of the people that recommended me this SCP, let me know down in the comment section below if you guys enjoyed the reaction. And also remember, smash that like button and also smash that sub button. I'm telling you guys, if you made it this far, you enjoy my reactions, and if you haven't subbed, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? Hop on in. The ticket's free, bro. We stop right now, so hop in. Let's have a blast together, guys. So smash that sub button. And also smash the notification button because you already know the kid. I post more than one upload most of the time every day, so you guys want to get all those doses, you guys know what to do. Smash that button. So with that all out the way, and without any further ado, let's get this show started. Alrighty, SCP-610, the Flesh That Hates. Let's go.
Discretion is advised. As D2 spasms on the ground, his entire body being overtaken by the sickly tan flesh, almost entirely after 45
Another
seconds.
fallen D soldier.
D2 is terminated by a gunshot from D1,
Dang.
but that did not stop the spread of SCP-610. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Keter-class object SCP-610.
Before we dive deep, I just want to say from my first impressions of this SCP, it reminds me of the Blob from the old 1970-something movie, where it's like a blob from outer space, a pink blob, and it gets bigger when it eats more people. That's what I kind of, assume this SCP will be. Let me know what you guys think before we dive deeper in the comment section.
Part 1. First, let me introduce my buddy from SCP Animated, Tales from the Foundation.
Hey!
Hi everybody, I'm Dr. K. SCP-610, also known as the Flesh That Hates, appears to be a contagious skin disease, with symptoms including rash, itching, and increased skin sensitivity. Within 3 hours, the disease will cause blemishes, resembling heavy scar tissue to form in the chest and arm areas. Within an additional hour, it will spread to the legs and back, and consuming the victim completely within 5 hours. Exposure to higher temperatures will vastly decrease the time for the contagion to spread, and complete infections have been recorded occurring in as little as 5 minutes.
Thanks, buddy. After the completion of the infection, the victim's life functions will cease for approximately 3 minutes. After that, they will restart at 2 to 3 times the activity rate of a normal human. Following this, the scar tissue on the victims will start to move and grow at a rapid rate. Normal human features start to disappear at this point.
What, the scar tissue?
And the path of mutation appears to be largely random. Victims observed in this stage have been recorded as growing 3 or more limbs like arms or legs.
Oh my
God. The head may become misshapen and elongate or widen out. And parts of the subject may split open from which additional branches of flesh will grow.
The heck?
But the weird thing is, not all subjects appear to progress to the same stage. There are 2 types of infected victims. One of them will cease moving and place itself in a location and roots itself like a plant. The fleshy growth on the victim will then begin to spread itself across all surrounding objects and consume them. However, this type of infection does not infect living creatures. The other kind of infected victims will immediately seek out aid as natural human impulse, resulting in unintended infection.
Hold up, like, if it doesn't affect animals, why does it affect us? Let me just rewind. Maybe I missed something.
Infection does not infect living creatures. The infected victims. One of them will cease moving and place itself in a location and roots itself like a plant. The fleshy growth on the victim will then begin to spread itself across all surrounding objects and consume them. However, this type of infection does not infect living creatures.
Oh, maybe this type of infection. There might be another type. Maybe.
The other kind of infected victims will immediately seek out aid as natural human impulse, resulting in unintended infection.
Oh.
And those who have lost their human form through the scar tissue phase will actively and aggressively attempt to infect anyone approaching them within an undefined area. If the infected has lost the ability of sight, a range of approximately 30 meters is considered safe.
Okay.
Initial reports of 610 came directly from the Russian government, after reports consisted primarily of disappearances of farmers in the region, followed by the local police, regional police, and a government dispatched agent all failed to report within a 72-hour period. A small military contingent was dispatched to the area and quickly withdrew, at which point the Foundation was contacted to investigate.
I wonder how far this flesh could take over. Like the ones that plant down like a plant. How far could the flesh spread? Like, is it like city level? Or like state level? Or global? Like, that'd be kind of cool if it's like never ended unless you kill like the plant itself that actually got rooted down. So, yeah, hopefully they dive deep about how far it could go and how big it could be as a calamity.
The area SCP-610 affects are close to Lake Baikal and southern Siberia. Areas of known infection are marked on this map. Due to the vast area of infection 610 covers, containment is impossible. Isolation of the area has proved far more effective, and permission has been granted by the Russian government to establish a perimeter to keep people out of these areas. Any living thing coming in physical contact with an organism infected with 610 is considered expendable. And is to be immediately terminated and incinerated.
Man, this guy's goofy. What's that, a D class? Or was he just a goofy human that was stepping up to touch
to establish a perimeter to keep people out of these areas. Any living thing coming in physical contact with an organism infected with 610 is considered expendable and is to be immediately terminated and incinerated.
That's pretty heavy that
anyone coming within 3 meters of 610 infected life is to immediately withdraw from the area, be isolated from the rest of their team, and subjected to medical examination and observations. Observation of life infected by SCP-610 by staff is impossible. Hence, observations could only be done by using artificial methods, such as remote robots. The data returned from these observations, coupled with the openly aggressive nature of the infected to attempt to spread, SCP-610 has resulted in the Keter classification. However, so long as nothing is allowed to enter or leave the infected areas, it is considered a neutralized threat.
How far could it spread,
but after the cavernous areas beneath the infected settlements were discovered during the exploration, the Foundation sent in research personnel for further investigation. There is a total of 5 field exploration logs for both the remote robot and also the human expeditions. The first exploration was done by a small camera-mounted unit, known as Herbie. Herbie was dispatched at a safe distance and directed toward a part of an infected small village, hereafter referred to as Site A. Many of the homes appeared to have suffered fire damage, but a fair amount of buildings are still intact. Through the camera feed, it seems that an estimated population of 79 were infected. Immobile infected are included in this number. However, it is difficult to ascertain an exact percentage of mobile versus immobile. After observing the exterior of the village for 2 hours, Herbie was directed to follow an infected known as Alpha as it entered a home. The home contains multiple visible infected organisms.
What? They're living together?
Was raised slowly as to not draw attention. Alpha walks around its home multiple times before stopping at another infected, hereafter known as Beta, sitting on a bed.
Oh, wow.
Beta is unable to leave the bed for unknown reasons.
Hold up, let's go back.
But is not raised slowly as to not draw attention. Alpha walks around its home multiple times before stopping at another infected, hereafter known as Beta, sitting on a bed.
He's really just waking up too.
Beta is unable to leave the bed for unknown reasons.
Oh my god.
But is not completely immobile, as it flails its arms in response to the beatings delivered by Alpha. Moments later, a piercing sound explodes from the area around Beta, who then proceeds to project a cloud of unknown matter into the air from its chest cavity. Alpha lingers in the cloud as it floats in the air around them, slowly descending to the ground. The unknown life form on the table aside Beta begins to twitch in an apparent seizure, and Alpha then laps the room twice more, stopping at each infected organism, but now ignoring Beta.
Damn.
Then Alpha seats itself at the table, reaches out for 3 plates, and set it on the table.
The hell?
After the plates are positioned, the facial tendrils extending from Alpha wiggle up and start to coil on each plate, before tearing apart and separating.
Are they eating
Alpha
him?
then leaves the house. Several minutes later, a group of 6 to 7 infected enter the home. These infected all surround the table, and each takes turn consuming the flesh substance left behind by Alpha, pressing it into whatever orifices on their bodies.
I'm assuming maybe the Alpha is the one that's hunting and is taking all the meals, and he's like protruding the flesh from the meat that he's getting or whatever they're consuming. It has to be flesh, obviously, the flesh that hates. But anyway, I'm assuming it's something like that. Maybe because he's the Alpha, he's the leader of the pack.
Some under their arms, some into mouths, some into the chest, some behind their backs. Herbie remains here for several more minutes before retracting its camera and leaving. Herbie is then directed to explore a store. Here he finds more infected individuals.
This is crazy. This is like a civilization of infected zombies. What the hell? Wow.
A Russian soldier who doesn't seem to be moving, but his eyes are in constant movement, often focusing on Herbie.
Uh-oh.
In a storage area, a large pile of bodies are stacked together. Some pieces of clothing are visible and appear to contain both military garb and everyday clothing. Atop the bodies, an infected sits, appearing to have its lower parts fused to the pile, and with its upper half in a wild state of flailing and seizure.
The hell?
Approximately every 10 seconds, a burst of spores flies out the top of this infected, which linger in the air. Herbie then leaves the store
Creates
and
more
passes
infected?
by the village well, surrounding which are a series of immobile infected, all facing the well. The arms of each of these infected individuals are stretched out, one in contact with the next, forming a perfect chain. Suddenly, an infected young girl
The
grabs
hell?
and stares at Herbie.
Out of nowhere?
Its face balloons in size and explodes outward into a series of fleshy flaps that grip Herbie and draw it
Ew.
inside of her. Herbie's video feed terminates here. 5 hours later,
Damn.
Herbie's video feed resumed. Herbie's camera pointed at the village well.
5
with a
hours
slimy
later?
film which often oozes across the lens. Herbie does not respond to any remote command, but its video jerks back and forth from target to target,
Zooming in and out?
in and out of its own accord. Video feed is cut manually, and all connections to Herbie's unit are ordered erased. The second
Dang,
exploration
they left Herbie in the dust. They just erased all data of Herbie, bro. Like, yo. Oh my god, give him a medal or something. Shit.
out of its own accord. Video feed is cut manually, and all connections to Herbie's unit are ordered erased.
Damn.
The second
Left
exploration
that
of
door.
SCP-610 happened during construction of the perimeter surrounding SCP-610's containment area. Several Class D personnel were infected. Most of these infected personnel were immediately destroyed with flamethrowers,
Oh my god.
but a small collection of infected were contained in cold storage units to prolong the progression of infection.
Makes
In hopes
sense.
of finding out more information on the origin point of 610, the Foundation sent 3 infected personnel,
Oh.
D1, D2, and D3,
They're doing that in a
into
video.
Site C
Perfect.
with a single video system. Site C is in the same infected village with the Site A mentioned earlier, but different spot.
Okay.
The 3 infected personnel were given 9mm pistols, gasoline, emergency flares, and some food.
Does pistols even work for these flesh monsters? They didn't talk about like how you could like kill it. So like, if you shoot it, would it just like absorb the whole? Because it seems like they could just do that. Like they could eat from their backs and stuff. So, I mean, would a gun really work? I'm assuming they think it should, but they should know that from what we learned so far, how should it work? Unless there's like a certain spot you have to shoot and it will die. Like I don't know.
They were also instructed to observe and avoid interaction with the infected villagers. But if they're attacked by the infected villagers, they're allowed to do as much damage to the site as possible while maintaining video feed. As D1, D2...
So gunshots actually does something to this flesh monster? That kind of... Man, that doesn't really make sense. This flesh monster could retract and detract stuff on his body and make holes in his body. Like, why would a hole... it's a bullet just going through you. Why is that hurting this SCP? I feel like he should just absorb it. I don't know why it's...
and D3 enter the site, there is a noticeable rise in the temperature, which requires a further shedding of garments. One of them immediately noticed a large number of immobile pylons arrayed around the site, separated by an apparent distance of 5 to 6 meters. Each pylon appears to be 2 to 4 infected persons, fused together in one spot. Heat vents out of these pylons, and current belief is that this is an advanced stage of SCP-610, terraforming its environment to facilitate spread of itself. D2 begins to seizure after only a few minutes in Site C.
Really?
The progression to the scar tissue phase of 610 infection is observed in full course, as D2 spasms on the ground, his entire body being overtaken by the sickly tan flesh,
Oh my God.
almost entirely after 45 seconds. D2 is terminated by a gunshot from D1, but that did not stop the spread of 610.
Yeah, I don't know how it
The
could stop in
spread
the beginning.
continues even after death of the body, until all movement ceases. As perimeter control is relaying new instructions to D1 and D3, video feed shows a flesh-like growth splitting open beneath D2's body, and a series of ropey tendrils coming from within the gap to pull his corpse inside.
Wow.
This opening closes quickly. Total time elapsed 3 seconds. D1
Yo.
and D3 quickly proceed to the village
Oh,
center
yep, they're infected
and
too.
encounter a sphere suspended by angled supports, comprised of both infected humans and a few specimens of non-human life forms such as deer and bears.
What? They said in the beginning it can't affect animals, so they said this version, the spread this way. So I'm assuming like if an animal is close to it, then it will get it. But at the same time, it said animals can't get infected by the spread. So does the animal have to at least touch the flesh? Because I'm assuming the spread is like it just spreads on you, and then the animals are not affected that way. Maybe that's one method that just the animals won't work. It just won't work on animals. But if that's not the case, this doesn't make sense. How is an animal infected? Like what?
The entire sphere of flesh pulses at roughly a 5-second interval, and with each pulse emits a ring of spore-like material from its equator. This material floats to the ground and appears to be absorbed into the converted environment. D3 begins to douse the sphere with the provided gasoline,
Fire should
and
work.
a lit emergency flare is applied to it,
Fire
which
makes
immediately
sense.
goes up in flames.
Yeah.
The remote feed plays back an explosive and creature roaring noise from an unknown location that seems to come from a location far outside of Site C,
Oh my
but was
gosh.
reported as being heard even at perimeter control by both Sites C and A.
Damn.
Within 15 seconds following the sound's dissipation, Site A reported that a series of explosions had occurred within the village. 5 seconds after this report, the spherical mass in the middle of Site C explodes, and both D1 and D3 are thrown by the blast. D3 dies instantly,
Damn.
but D1 manages to stand back up.
Hey, okay, D1.
D1's video equipment falls to the ground and was recording in a skyward direction.
That's why you got that one by
The
your
last
D.
moments of footage from D1's
No homo.
video
Pause.
unit
Pause.
display a humanoid figure, unknown creature, steps upon the recording video equipment and destroys it.
Damn.
Perimeter control remained on high alert for a full 24 hours at all locations, without any incident following this event. The destruction caused by the second exploration resulted in a series of unexpected events in Site A. That being said, there's still more to add to the story that indicates the danger and horror of SCP-610, but we will explore the rest of it in Part 2. So,
Sweet.
stay tuned.
So far, it's good. It just doesn't make sense to me about like how you could actually take this creature out. Maybe when they actually go in depth about how you could stop, you know, the flesh that hates. And one, I just want to know what's the hate part. What does it actually hate? I thought we'll get that in the Part 1, but I guess we don't. I want to know their motives of why they're actually, you know, doing this. Is it like a grand plan, like one big flesh creature? Because there's like an alpha, might be an actual main leader. And I want to know how far it could spread. That'd be pretty interesting. There's a few things I want to find out, so I'm glad there's a Part 2. So I'm definitely going to be diving deep into Part 2 soon. So stay tuned, guys. And also remember, if you guys do enjoy this reaction, you guys want to see Part 2 and more, please remember to smash that like button, show some love. Also smash the sub button if you're not already part of the family. I'm telling you guys, hop on the train, man. It's going to be a blast. If you made it all the way to the end and you haven't subbed, what are you doing, guys? Come on, sub. And also turn on post notifications too so you won't miss a drop, so you can enjoy the heat alongside with me. So let's get it popping, guys. So without all out the way, hope you guys all have a good day. And unfortunately, the show has concluded. However, I'll catch you guys on the next one.
With